Were all the men in military regalia outside Luthuli House on Friday part of Umkhonto Wesizwe? What is the MKMVA stance on the recent cabinet reshuffle? What are the MK veterans' position on alliance partners calling on President Zuma to step down? What are the veterans doing to move the legacy of Chris Hani forward? What time is it? It's question time. Khotsong, and welcome to the show. My name is Maphatsoe. Last Friday's marches across the country are regarded as a direct reaction to the recent cabinet reshuffle by President Jacob Zuma. Ironically though, the reshuffle happened a few hours after Rivonia Trialist and ANC icon Ahmed Kathrada was laid to rest. Uncle Kathy's funeral and subsequent memorial services have been turned into platforms used by those opposed to the axing of several ministers, including Pravin Gordhan. Some members of the ANC Youth League in KwaZulu-Natal heckled Pravin at another memorial service for the late Kathrada over the weekend. This is alliance partners as well. COSATU and the Communist Party are calling for President Zuma to step down. Meanwhile, MKMVA Chairperson Kebby Maphatsoe has criticized former President Thabo Mbeki. This after Mbeki called on ANC Members of Parliament to vote in the interest of the people when the National Assembly debates a motion of no confidence in President Zuma next week. We are live and you can call us 089-1104-210. Our Twitter handle at QuestionTime24. My guest today is Commissar Mafana. His combat name is Lookout Mahlabe. He's the spokesperson of the MKMVA here in Gauteng as well. Commissar, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
One of the things that seemed to get a lot of attention, immediately I said, I'm going to host MKMVA today. And by the way, we had said we were hosting the chairperson. Unfortunately, we need to just make that known to our viewers that he fell ill and he wasn't able to come. That is Kebby Maphatsoe. So our apologies in that regard. We had tweeted that it was Kebby Maphatsoe was coming in. However, a lot of people then sent me tweets saying, ask him where all those fellows at Luthuli House who were in combat, veterans of MKMVA. And by the way, there's a difference between a veteran and a military veteran.
Thank you. Firstly, let me say this matter has been coming for some time.
Yeah.
And in my view, I want to say it looks like it's a concerted propaganda approach, to discredit the role that MK has played before it was disbanded to be known today as MKMVA. Precisely because the issue of combat, you will also agree that even in the social space,
yes,
combat is used for fashion purposes. And on the other hand, for Luthuli House, as the revolutionary house of the African National Congress, we did actually deploy our members of MKMVA to protect Luthuli House, because you would have known that there were plans to march to Luthuli House as the headquarters of the ANC. Now, we are also on record having said that the members that were there are known members of Umkhonto Wesizwe, because there is a difference here. You should also note that MKMVA composes of different structures, and detachments as well. Firstly, MKMVA, its former members who trained in exile. 2, its members who were in the underground structures during the liberation struggle. 3, it's those members of the self-defense units who were trained by trained members of Umkhonto Wesizwe internally, heeding the call of our former Commander-in-Chief, O.R. Tambo, that we must defend ourselves in South Africa in the fight against apartheid government. Therefore, we can confirm that those members who were there deployed at Luthuli House were indeed members of Umkhonto weSizwe. We cannot account for every single individual who was around those perimeters wearing some form of military uniform, because there could have been young people also from the other structures of the movement who are wearing also a combat uniform.
Okay, well, I hope it has been addressed, because I mean, I was a bit subjective on the matter, because like I'm saying, there's different detachments.
Yes.
You're not going to get everybody being of the age of Ntate Mapoto in Polokwane.
Exactly.
The Wangi generation.
Exactly.
There are those in my age group who actually formed part of military operations, both outside and even inside the country. And in that way, I'm happy that you have really explained this. But now, then MK today, the chairperson is quoted as saying, Thabo Mbeki, and I mean, not in so many words, but you're saying there's something wrong with him if he's saying that people must go and not vote according to what the ANC decides.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting dimension to address, Mpo, in the sense that, firstly, we know that South Africa is using constitutional democracy system. And therefore, when the voters in South Africa vote for a party, and people get put in the lists of the party because they belong to that party. And therefore, it is clear that whosoever that is in the parliament in South Africa today, in the cut of the ANC, was brought there by the membership of the ANC, by the voters of South Africa, because you cannot be in the list of the ANC if you're not a member of the ANC. Okay. So therefore, if it comes to issues of voting, you need to vote with the position of the party, because nobody represents himself there as an individual, but you represent yourself as a party collective. And if the collective has taken a position, you need to follow that position, because it's part and parcel of a revolutionary discipline that you must exercise. We might also differ in views about this or that. It is also encouraged within the organization that people differ politically. But when it comes to principled decisions, you must abide by those decisions. And I cannot imagine any member of parliament in the cut of the ANC who can then move against the position of the party that deployed him in the first place.
But now tell me, what is the difference between President Thabo Mbeki and President Jacob Zuma? The ANC was able to recall its president in 2008 when it had issues with him. Currently, there's a lot of things that are coming up. Why can't the ANC do what it did with Mbeki? If there are views that the president needs to step down from all, not all, but from some significant quarters of the movement?
Well, I can say it's a very simple question to answer. Firstly, naturally, there would be a difference between the leadership of a revolutionary movement, because leadership is not something that is prescriptive. Leadership has to do also with personalities. It has to do with the agenda and the programs of the party. And I cannot here want to draw a parallel between former President Thabo Mbeki and President Jacob Zuma, because they are two different individuals who see things differently, but they belong to the same organization. They've got the same agenda, that of making South Africa a better country for all. Now, insofar as why is it that we are not heeding the call that President Jacob Zuma should step down or he should be recalled, I think the answer to that also, it goes with the fact that who is asking for President Jacob Zuma to step down?
His comrades.
Yes, of course, it's comrades in different quarters. It's also the public who are saying so. And by the way, in the nature of democracy itself, they are allowed. It's their democratic right to say their views about who do they think should lead us. However, we should also recognize the fact that President Jacob Zuma was elected democratically in a conference of the African National Congress, in which In the Constitution, it is clearly stated that the President of the African National Congress shall be the President of the country. And if there's a need that he should be recalled, there are internal processes within the African National Congress that can make him to be in that position. But for now, we as the African National Congress and together with Mkhonto we Sizwe, we do not want to be given an agenda by the opposition parties. Opposition parties must fight their battles in their own programs, in their own campaigns, and let them convince the voters in South Africa that we are the right candidates to be voted for. They must not determine the agenda for us as the African National Congress, as a revolutionary alliance, that we must recall President Jacob Zuma. Because insofar as we are concerned, Comrade President Jacob Zuma is on the right track in tackling those basic issues that we have been long calling for, that they should be tackled for us to be a better country in South Africa today.
So, according to the MKMVA, is President Jacob Zuma the best the ANC can give South Africa?
Well, that's a relative question to ask, you know. If you say the best, it's a relative concept in the sense that is the best in relation to what? You know, because I believe in a theory of material conditions that says each and every leader will behave in such a way that the material conditions dictate for them.
Dialectical materialism.
Dialectical materialism, thank you, sir. For instance, let me give you a classical example. Yesterday we were commemorating the life of Comrade Chrisani, who was, by the way, the General Secretary of the South African Communist Party, and as well as the Chief of Staff of Mkhonto we Sizwe. Now, if you go to that issue of the legacy of Chrisani, there are times when the leadership of the ANC themselves, they were not quite happy about Chrisani's stance.
Correct.
You know, on certain issues. I just want to show you that the ANC is an open organization that is open to self-criticism and criticism. Therefore, O.R. Tambo played a pivotal role in making sure that dissenting views of a different nature are being had within the organization, because it's a culture of the organization. And today, we are not surprised that there are issues that are coming by the side that are demanding that President Jacob Zuma should step down, because there are people who are holding a different view, which we respect. But on the same breath, we as the MKMVA and the African National Congress, we are saying that agenda cannot be determined by the opposition parties. It shall be determined by ourselves as the Revolutionary Party.
Okay, let's go to Katlego. Katlego, you're calling us, you're on the line. Katlego, welcome. Okay, we don't seem to have Katlego on the line there. But anyway, we're taking your calls, but we'll continue to take your calls actually soon after this break that we're going to take. And please don't forget that the numbers to dial is 089 1104 089 1104
Water-wise, water is an essential need. The scarcity of it could lead to loss of many lives, including livestock, plants, and much more. It requires us to use it sparingly and responsibly in times of need, failing which our taps and sanitation will not function. For more on water and weather issues, stay tuned to News Today, every Friday at 5:45 Central African Time. SABC News, making you water-wise.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. Our guest today is Commissar Bafana. He's known as Lookout in the camps. Mahlabi. He's the spokesperson of Mkhonto we Sizwe Military Veterans Association, and we're talking about the latest developments within the MKMVA, but also within the Alliance and the ANC in general. Let's now talk about the reshuffling. You're not, what's your position? You're not worried, or what is it? One of your members was reshuffled.
Yeah, let's start off by saying let's appreciate the fact that cabinet reshuffling is the prerogative of the president.
Correct.
Because remember, it is the president, according to constitutional democracy, that invites these members into his cabinet. Now, as and when he feels that they are no more adhering to the agenda or the direction that he wants to take, it is within his rights that he can reshuffle them and deploy people that will take the direction forward or whatever that is intended to be done forward. We have noted with concern, of course, the noise that has been coming with it and the fact that South Africa today has been downgraded by a number of these rating agencies. One of them is Standard & Poor, and the other one lately, it was Fitch. So it would concern us naturally as South Africans that our economy is being viewed in that sense and has been downgraded. But we also need to note that the cadres that have been deployed there are well competent cadres. For instance, I'll give you an example. When former ministers were appointed, especially in the finance sector, because that is where the concern is, nobody knew much about them, including Comrade Pravin Gordhan, former Minister Trevor Manuel, and others. Nobody knew much about them until the ANC deployed them in those portfolios. And by the way, there was skepticism also around those people when they were deployed, until such time that people realized that, in fact, they do have the capacity to can do the job, because they had to prove themselves. And right now, I can say to you that the person that has been deployed there in the name of Comrade Malusi Kikaba, personally and as a structure, MK and as the ANC, we have full confidence in him that he will discharge his duties, and he has actually started hitting the ground running to make sure that he corrects whatever situations that needs to be corrected. And by the way, the confidence will also grow up after the engagements, necessary engagements have been made.
Hold it there. Shezi, is it Shezi or Shozi in KZN? Shozi.
Mr. Shozi, mfano zale Shozi.
Oh, Bab, Sabon.
Kunja.
Ngiyaphila Bab.
Niko.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Look, for me, the opposition has a right to actually do what their caucus asks them. But I don't think that they should woo the ANC and allow the ANC to do what they want. The caucus of the ANC must do what they think is correct for the country. If I can quote as well, when President Governor was a member of Parliament, voted against the ANC in terms of the arms deal, the Mbeki government then were not happy with him. And I think the former president is really out of line to call for members of Parliament to vote with the opposition. It's nothing, it has never had in the ANC. The last one is, these matches for me, they're also fueling, as much as people are saying it is Zuma that is actually causing the rand to fall. But what the opposition is also doing, they're also creating chaos in the country. And I think they must also be very, because this is what the president has done is constitutionally correct and is in terms of the constitution. There is nothing unconstitutional about this. If ever they want to remove the president, but they must do it in a correct way within the constitution. And I think what they're doing is uncalled for and so on. But we are surprised at the media and everybody else. They are really, really supporting what the opposition is actually doing. They must also do what is correct, what is within the constitution.
Shozi, thank you very much for that call, calling us from Durban there, Shozi. Well, I guess he's sharing your views there. But the opposition is organizing. Their ground is swelling. Are you not intimidated?
Not at all, Mpo. It would be naive of us to think that having fought the revolution, it will be all systems go and everybody will agree with everybody. It was expected that in the course of a revolution, there would be processes of a counter-revolution, And as a revolutionary movement, you fought a liberation, you must also be ready to defend it. It's almost dialectical, Otherwise, why would we have sacrificed ourselves to go to the bushes and say we want to fight a revolution if we cannot be able to defend it? That is why we also borrow from the slogan of Samora Machel when he says, "A luta continua." There is no point where the struggle ends. You cannot fight a fight and not defend it. So our principle, it says they are within their democratic right to can march for what they believe in and to march against what they don't believe in. It is within their democratic right. We are not faced, because we believe that with the programs that the President of the Republic, together with the African National Congress, that they are coming with in terms of economic transformation, we shall be within a track where people are going to benefit more, and we shall make freedom to be a material, meaningful freedom, not a theoretical freedom.
Fana, you are in Free State. Welcome. Ntsrephela ntadophela jwa.
Ke phetse.
Ndadi.
Ke re go batla o quote mo more different pakeng tsa President Mbeki le Zuma ke efe now. In 2008, President Mbeki was the president of the country, was no longer the president of the ANC.
Yes.
So for now, for the ANC to recall recall President Yabona, I know one ale mo constitution ya ANC ano edume. Because I present and represent the ANC in the government.
Okay.
So if it was two central powers like Mbeki, una se ka mo puso Zuma ka ANC. For now ANC right correct ha yetsa ha ba sireletsa president ya bona goba ba go mo puso.
Fana, thank you very much. Fana calling us from the Free State. They're saying, well, look, the difference in is that President Mbeki was no longer president of the ANC at the time, so it was easy to recall him. And for now, the constitution of the ANC says the president of the ANC shall be the president of the country. But does it therefore mean that come December, whoever emerges as president of the ANC will have to take over?
Well, that's a technical question, in the sense that you see in the ANC there has been practices where the person leads the party politically, and there is someone else that is deployed at the time for whatever strategic reasons that the party could have seen fit to do. There would have been situations, for instance, where there's a chairperson of the region is not the mayor, and the mayor is another deployee. Currently in the Gauteng province, we have a situation where Paul Mashatile is the chairperson of the ANC in the province, but he's not the premier. Someone else is deployed as the premier. I think it's an issue of also recognizing and acknowledging the skills within the movement and the priorities at the time. So the ANC will deal with the matter when it reaches that point in December, when a new president is elected to lead the party. Okay. There will be engagements, and if the party is comfortable at that point that whosoever that is leading the country is still in the right direction and they support him, they understand each other, there is no conflict between the party and the state, that shouldn't be an issue. Okay. But having said that, I think it is the prerogative of the ANC as a party to can engage on that matter and take a suitable decision at that point.
Talking about December, who is your candidate?
Well, as a disciplined cadre of the movement and as a disciplined structure of the movement, we are following.
It's open.
Most definitely, we will wait until these processes are being opened so that we can engage structurally, and we shall then, at the right time, view, or rather, express our preferred candidate. But I can tell you, without any contradiction, that we have a pool of talent within the African National Congress and its alliance.
But well, you are soldiers who are involved in a guerrilla warfare, and therefore underground operations are your things. So who is currently being pushed underground?
Well, we are a constitutional democracy. There is no underground. That is why we were disbanded as MK, and today we are just an association. But we are very clear of our politics that to us it is the collective that matters more than the individual. Because remember, ANC it's an old organization, and it has built a lot of leadership layers within itself. And the culture of the ANC is the one that says we believe in collective leadership. Individual wisdom cannot surpass the collective leadership.
Finally, people are saying we are heading to a situation like Zimbabwe. Veterans are being used to defend the party, and eventually they'll be defending the state.
Well, that is not true. I must say, because we currently have got a lot of layers within the government that are checks and balances, you know. And within constitutional democracy, there is no way in which we are going to have a jungle type of system in South Africa. So the veterans, we are political soldiers, we are not mercenaries. Therefore, we are clear about the direction that the country is taking, that of a non-sexist, non-racial and democratic South Africa.
Look, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, sir.
Well, that was a veteran, a military veteran, I must emphasize. There's a difference there. And that was question time for today. A big thank you from me and the entire crew. I'm Ahmed Kathrada.